Hi and welcome. How do you talk about the 6 types of beings in cyclic existence in Tibetan? So I'm using some notes that I came across recently from, it seems like an out-of-print book, a correspondence course by Sarah Harding and Jeremy Morelli. You can have a look for it online if you are able to get a hold of a real copy of it. That would be lovely. I would like to find out if it is actually still in print somewhere. But in any case, I'm finding the dialogues in it extremely helpful. So yeah, so let's just get into it. Korwa la, korwa, cyclic existence, korwa. So often if you're studying Tibetan Buddhism, you'll hear translators use samsara. Samsara is the Sanskrit, I suppose, of korwa, of cyclic existence. Cyclic existence is a bit longer to say than samsara, I guess. That's why people tend to use it. And I mean, it's the same term, but if you want a more English, clear term that people, because if you say samsara and people don't know what that is, that's not terribly helpful. So cyclic existence is another way. So korwa, what is korwa? How do you spell korwa? Korwa is au ka naru kora kor wa. So kor in general has this sense of like wheel, round, cycle. It's used in all of these contexts. So korwa. Korwa la, so korwa in cyclic existence. And then beings is droa. If you remember, I think we did kapa drogi yin. Where are you going? Oh no, we did. Yeah, that was it. Tandangan drogi yin. Now I'm gonna go. So go, draw. This is the same draw. Droa, like a goer. A goer is a being, somebody who goes, who moves, who has life, who does things. So droa. So karata da naro dro. Oops, too many O's. Dro. Oh, I missed my. Okay, let's start again. Karata da naro dro. Pa. And this pa tends to be used for it's what gives the idea that the like when you say it's a sing-er or a bake-er, it's like it's giving the personhood to the go, like go-er. So pa is like the person doing the going. Doa. So korwala, doa, rik, ragigurika sarik, types. Truk, ta, rata, ta, shabtu, Tukaduk, 6, if you remember from the counting video. Tuk is 6. Yo, exist, to exist. And then re is a fact. Exist as a fact, but yore is used very much. It's a very, very, very common construction in Tibetan. And yore, the easiest way to translate this kind of existing as a fact is there is or there are. In English, you're going to find it super easy if you just pretty consistently, whenever you see yore, if you think there are or there is, it pretty consistently works nicely. You can find a way to translate it, at least in your own mind. It may not be how you want to translate it in speaking or writing, but this is how you can think of it, is there is or there are yore. So korwala doa rik tuk yore. So there exist, or there are as a fact, there exist as a fact, there are 6 types, beings in cyclic existence. There are 6 types, beings in cyclic existence. So in English, it's totally it's completely backwards from the way that you would say it in English, because you would say there are 6 types of beings in cyclic existence, whereas in Tibetan you say completely the opposite. Korwa la, droa rik truk yore. So this takes getting used to. If you've ever watched Star Wars movies, you know Yoda, the way that Yoda speaks. He puts the verb further along at the end of the sentence, or kind of speaks backwards, or speaks in kind of an unconventional construction as far as English. Well, it's inspired by Tibetan, I trust. Even the Ewoks, they sing in Tibetan. They chant in Tibetan. They sing in Tibetan. Uh, so yes, this is your one easy introduction to speaking about Buddhist ideas using modern Tibetan construction of things, but Dharma vocabulary, and also just the backwards nature of many Tibetan sentences. Some things will not be that complex, but this one is an easy one to show you. It's just completely the reverse of what you would say in English. So, korwala droarik tuk yore. Or if you want to do it more of a forwards translation, you can say, you can break it down a little bit to smaller pieces. So in cyclic existence, and then you can do the second part. There are 6 types of being. It's the same idea. Okay, so what are these? Talking about the next sentence that's in the Sarah Harding book. Okay, so ngen song nga na ngen sa noroso nga song. Ngen song is like bad went, the bad direction, or the things that the realms. I'm saying realms, I mean that's not in these words, but the idea is the realms where beings who have done bad things went. I guess that's maybe a sort of a catch-all, or one of the strategies you can use to think about this term. So ngen song, bad went, the 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 bad went place. So ngen song, som, kao sa shabju su ma som, 3, tang, mao ta naro to, ragi guri sari, and then kao sa shabju su ma sum, and then again with yo re. You see that often this yo gets pronounced as ye, re, but I find that mostly I hear it as yore. The D kind of disappears because when it becomes this expression. So tori, as you can imagine, is the opposite of the bad gone ones. This is literally, you can say the high region, the high region 3. So there are yore 3 high region and 3 bad went. There are 3 high region and 3 bad went. Or if you want to look at the other way, bad went 3 and high region 3, there are. So essentially you just would say, in normal English, you would say there are 3 lower realms and 3 higher realms. So what are these 3 higher realms and 3 lower realms? The way you ask that is nga na ngen sa naroso nga song kao sa shepchu su ma sum. First we'll talk about the lower realms. So ngen song, bad went, sum, kare, I don't remember now if we've already talked about kare, but kare is just what? Kare, what? Re, again, this fact, to be a fact. Ser, ser, again, this is often, you'll see it translated as say. I find for my own self, I really like to keep a mental placeholder of this as declare, simply because there are other words that are used for say, and I just find it for myself helpful to kind of keep this mental bookmark of ser as being declare in my own mind. But if you like to just translate it as say, that's fine. Na, if. This is an important particle that will come back again and again and again because, like if, it's a very useful word. So ngen song sum karere serna. Karere serna, as a little expression, karere serna is in the Harding book they translate it as, what are, which is a very simple way of doing it. If you want to think of it only like that and memorize it that way, it's fine. It will work. For myself, I like to go a bit further and understand all of the little pieces, just because then I find it easier when I'm trying to construct a sentence if I know what it actually means in the Tibetan. So you can safely ignore me, or you can go in the same direction as me. Whatever you find useful in communicating, and maybe you have a better way, fantastic. This is the way that I've made myself a simplified way of thinking about this so that I can try to practice sentences myself in Tibetan. So what I'm talking about is Nyen Song Sun Karere Serna. The way I would mentally translate, maybe not translate this in live to other people, but in my own mind, that the, the three lower realms are what if declared. The three lower realms are what if declared. In a regular English sentence, I would think of it something like, if I talked about the three lower realms, or I think that's why it's essentially, often translated as what are, because it's essentially setting you up to provide a list of things. Like, if I were to tell you about the three lower realms, what would I say? Or like, if I, like a Southern belle, I do declare, if I do declare, what are the three lower realms? And then you continue the sentence. This is, and it's got a she at the end of the sentence, but there is no implication with this she that it's the end of a sentence. It's just a stop in the thought. It's more like a comma. So if I declare what the three lower realms are, dot dot dot, that's mentally how I think of it. If I declare what the three lower realms are, dot dot dot, let's look at what they are. So, Tao, Ma Yata Nya, remember that exception in the alphabet? Ma Yata Nya, La Nyal, Wa. I don't know if I've mentioned this, but the Pa, often if it's a second syllable, it just gets pronounced as Wa. And often the letter Wa, the one that's written like a Wa, it's pretty rare. You don't see it very often. Mainly, well, I guess this kind of Wa sound is much more likely to be found. So, Nyalwa, Nyalwa is the first one, which is hell. Hells, the hells, or hells, or hell. Oh, well, I mean, when you're talking about Buddhist cosmology, it's hells. There's more than one. So, Yidak, yi, yagigu yi, da, whoops, da, wasur, kasa, yidak. So this is one where the wasur doesn't change the sound. It's just yidak, but it's just the spelling. So you'll recognize this. And the yidak is the hungry ghosts, or the hungry ghost land, the hungry ghost realm, the place where the hungry ghosts are, or the hungry ghosts themselves. Yidak. It's sort of a general term that would work for either way that you need to think about it in the sentence. Yidak. And then dundro. Da shabchu du ta du. So the du becomes softened to du because of the ta that comes as the suffix. Ta shabchu du sa du, ta du, sorry. Ta shabchu du ta du. Du, and then ao ga rata da narodro. Dundro, dundro, dundro. So this dro again is the goer or the being or the go or be, go. And the do uh, in this together with the dro, it's like bent, a bent go. So if you think of an animal who is walking on four legs, they are bent over. So a bent go is an animal. Animal. The dundro is the animal realm. Animal or an animal realm. Dundro. And then kao sa shabju su ma sum yo re. So there are three: hell, hungry ghost, animal. Hell, hungry ghost, animal. So nyalwa, yidak, dundro, sum, yore. So a direct backwards translation would be something like, there are the three of hell, hungry ghost, and animal. That's maybe how you would say it in English, something like this. So there are three: hell, hungry ghost, and animal. Although they don't say and here, as I'm sure you noticed, but it's pretty typical. It's just the list. Okay, next. Okay, so let's just review what we've done so far. So korwa la, doa rik truk yore. There are 6 types of beings in samsara, cyclic existence. Ngen song sum tang tori sum yore. There are 3 lower realms and 3 higher realms. Ngen song sum karere sarna. If I list or if I declare the 3 lower realms, there are hell, hungry ghost, and animal. Nyalwa, yidak, dundro, sum yore. There are the 3 of hell, hungry ghost, and animal. Mao tanaro, Mao tanaro to ragiguri. So the high region. Tori sum. Kao sa shepchu suma sum. Ka re ser na. So again, like what are, or if I do declare what they are. Tori sum karire serna. What are the 3 higher realms? Or if I do declare, what are the 3 higher realms? Then we have, oops, I forgot a me in my notes. Magigumi. Me is person, people, humans. Human beings, me. Then we have la hata sa, whoops, la hata sa, ma yin, sa ma yin. So sa means God, ma is not, and yin is our personal identity existence. So this is basically saying not identified as a god. In English, we would say demigod. The idea is sort of like a not quite identified as a god, or not exactly a god, not quite a god. So demigod, samayin. So me, humans, samayin, demigods, and sa, gods. La, sorry, la hata sa. Like Lhasa, right? Lhasa is the capital city of Tibet. I guess I'm not sure if it's the capital of the Tibetan Autonomous Region right now. But anyway, Lhasa, the meaning is God, and Sa is earth or land. God. But this is like gods with a small g, not with a capital G. Sa. Okay, so mi samayin sa sum. So kao sa shapju suma sum yo re. So there are 3 humans, demigods, gods. If I do declare what are the 3 higher realms, there are 3 humans, demigods, gods. Now let's have a look a little bit further. Nyalwala, Nyalwala, Tauma Yata, whoops, Tauma Yata Nya La Nyal, Wa, hell, La, in hell, Ta, whoops, Ta, Karata Tanga Tang, Ta Tang. Ta Tang is an interesting construction that you'll see a lot in Tibetan, which is hot, cold. Normally hot, and this Ta Tang, as by itself in a normal context, it would mean temperature. So hot, cold together is used to mean temperature. It's like the 2 extremes give you the concept of temperature. But in this case, in this case they are separate. There's 2 syllables. It's the first syllable of each word just being used independently this time. In this case, it doesn't mean temperature. It literally means hot and cold. Ca tang, ca tang, ca tang, hot and cold. Gi, ka gi gu gi, ka gi gu gi. And then dungel. Dungel, you're going to hear this one a lot. Dungel is suffering, suffering. Sa ta da da shabchu du ka pau. Sa ngata nga la ngel. Dungel. Dungel is suffering. Dungel. Dungel, 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 dungel. Just you gotta get used to that one. That is gonna come up a lot, especially if you're studying Buddhism, because it's a big, well, it's a problem. That's the main problem that Buddhism is trying to point to the solution of. So, dungel, yo re. So there are the sufferings of gi. If you remember from our previous lesson, gi is of. This is kind of a connective particle between the suffering and the first part here. Of tatang, hot and cold, in la nyalwa. So Nyalwa la Tatangi Dungel Yore. So in hell, Nyalwa la Tatangi Dungel. Tatangi Dungel, you can think of this as one chunk of information here. You can think of it as you can do it both ways. You can think of it as the sufferings of hot and cold, but it's also good mentally to think of this as the gi is talking about the characteristics, like mm, the suffering that has the characteristics of satang. This will come in handy if you kind of think of gi as of, but that it can also function as characteristic of. You might find that useful later on. You don't need to worry too much about it now, but just keep that in mind because it will come back. It will be useful later. Nyalwala tatangi dungel yore. In hell, there are the sufferings of hot and cold, or heat and cold. Either way in English is okay. Next we have yidak. What's happening in the hungry ghost realm? Yagikuyi ta wasur. Oh, sorry. Ta wasur kasadak yidak la in the hungry ghost realm, or for the hungry ghost, with the hungry ghost, at the hungry ghost realm. Po karatata karatata dengbu te sa kataka naroko makom kayata kya giguki. And then again this dungel. Sa tatata shabju du ka duk pau sa ngatang sangatanga la ngel yo re. So yidak la in the hungry ghost realm. Tegom, hunger, thirst, Tegom, hunger, thirst. Characteristic of dungel yore. So there is in the hungry ghost realm the characteristic of suffering of hunger and thirst. So there is hunger and thirst in the hungry ghost realm. Next we have the animals. Du, do, ta shibju du ta du, au garata ta naro do, dundro, la. So in the animal realm, ka lata la dingbu le na len la kata ga shabkuku ka kuk len kuk ki tu ngel yo re. So just move this down a little bit here. Dundro la in the animal realm. Len kuk is like dumbness, not being able to speak, and stupidity, being stupid, no intelligence. So len kuk, not able to speak and not having intelligence, characteristic of their suffering there is. So there is the suffering of, or characterized by, the characteristic of, like not being able to speak and not having intelligence in the animal realm. Dundrola lenkuki dungelyore. There is the suffering of being dumb and stupid in the animal realm. Dumb in the sense of not speaking. Next, in the human realm, ni, la, in the human realm, sa kataka yatakya, yatakya, tengbuke, birth, ja kataka, aging, na, sickness, oh, chagiguchi, death, and then of, yi, and then we have our do, do, yeah, yori. So mila in the human realm, birth, aging, sickness, death characteristic, suffering, there is. There is the suffering of birth, aging, sickness, and death in the human realm. Sorry, I'm getting some popping on the microphone. I'll try to invest in a screen microphone. I'll do some more testing, but I'll try to get rid of the popping. Mila kega na chi dungel yore. Next, we have samayin. La hata sa ma yin. Yin. La. Oh, tab ra za da za naro zo ta zu. Kaya ta kya giguchi. Sa ta ta da shabshu du ga du. Pao sa nga ta nga la ngel yo re. So, samayin la in the demigod realm, or if you want the Sanskrit term, it's asura. Asura in the asura realm, in the demigod realm. Tabtsu, tabtsu, tabtsu. Tabtsu is tab, quarreling, tsu, fighting. Tabtsu, quarreling and fighting. Quarreling and fighting. Characteristic gi of dungel yore. So in the demigod realm, there is the characteristic of suffering that is associated with quarreling and fighting. Samayin la tabtsu ki dungel yore. And finally, la hata sa, la. Oh, panaro po, la ta 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 shabchu tu nga tung gi sa ta 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 shabchu tu ga duk pao sa nga ta nga la ngel ya naru yo ta yu re ragi dembu re ta re. So in the God realm, change, po, dong, decay. Change and decay, characteristic of suffering, dungel, yore, there is. So in the God realm, there is the suffering of change and decay, or there is the suffering that is characterized by change and decay. So just to review some of the new vocabulary here, you can scroll back and look at things yourself, but I'll just do some word by word things of some of the tricky words that don't repeat as much here. So korwa, au ka naru kora kor wa is cyclic existence or samsara, korwa. Then rik is type. Ngen song, if you remember, Ngen song is the lower in the sense of gone in a bad way, the beings that have gone in a bad direction. Ngen song. Then we have, tori, so higher region, so beings who have gone in a higher direction, higher realm, tori. Then we have tau, manyatanya lawa wa nyalwa, hell, nyalwa, hells or hells. Yidak, yi, tak, hungry ghost. Do, do, animal or bent goer, animal. Then we have hunger and thirst. Karatachai dinguche sache sakataka naroko makom. Tekom, hunger and thirst. Kalatala dingule nalen. Lakataka shabjuku. I keep doing that. Shabjuku kakuk. Lenkuk, so dumbness and stupidity. Then we have Sakatakaya Takya Dingwuke for birth, being born. Rakataka, aging. Na, sickness. And Chi, death. And Tab, quarreling and fighting. Po, Dong is change and decay. So this is a lot of new vocabulary, but it will all become familiar the more we talk about these kind of things and take the time to practice and go back through the sentences and try to use some of the new vocabulary in any of the constructions that you're getting familiar with. So I hope you enjoyed this. Listen as many times as you need to get these words comfortable and start writing your own sentences. I encourage you to do that.